We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
And now, Reality Rants with Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, everybody. We are sending the love from the heartland, from the middle of the country, from the Quad Cities, baby. Man, I love Iowa. It is snowing outside. Supposed to snow yesterday. Didn't happen. You know, we're going to start Reality Rants off with a little bit of lightheartedness. We're going to talk about the weather. That's what most of these talk shows do, right? Oh, the weather is supposed to be challenging today. Really exciting stuff. What we do here is we jam-pack information you're not going to see, not only in the vast majority of the mainstream media, but I continually am surprised when I see Tucker Carlson, for instance, covering things that I covered earlier in the day, earlier in the week, a month ago. Just had Douglas MacArthur on about the balloons. I would disagree with Douglas MacArthur on what he said with them, but all of a sudden the Tuckins is going, did we shoot down our own balloons? I wonder if the Tuck caught wind of what Hirsch was saying. Okay? So, talk a little bit about that. Bombshell on the CIA and JFK, in my opinion. Not really a new bombshell. It's somebody going through the documentation that was released in 2017. There was a lot of it. I did a lot of breakdowns on it. Okay? Obviously didn't know about this. I think that this is an important aspect. This is what we're going to lead with today. And especially because, I bring up Tucker. But I bring up Tucker because, he's gone so far as to say there is no doubt that the Central Intelligence Agency was involved in killing John F. Kennedy. And he is the number one newsman in America. Hate him, love him, lukewarm about him, controlled opposition, whatever. Still the number one guy telling all these people this. And one of the things that I look at when I look at this thread, and it's by somebody called Lori Spencer. I think I was put onto this maybe by Andrew for Action for Assange. So again, this gets released in 2017. I said those dumps were huge. There was a lot there. Far from perfect. Far from perfect. And a lot of the documents that had not been released before were deemed NBR. Oh, NBR. Not believed relevant. We don't believe it's relevant. So what didn't they believe was relevant here? What do I think is a bombshell? At the time of the assassination, Dallas Mayor Earl Cabell, brother of one-time Deputy Director of Central Intelligence Charles P. Cabell, had been a CIA asset since 1956. This missing piece of the puzzle is huge. Now think about this. First of all, you got straight up, over the top, in your face nepotism and corruption prior to that, right? Oh, you mean he was just the brother of the one-time CIA director? Yeah. But now, on paper, you have that this guy was a running asset for the better part of a decade before this took place. How about that? How about that? Interesting. Now, the real question is, if this was such a, successful program, as it appears to be, here we are talking about in 2023, how many other CIA assets or agents or informants have made their way into mayorships, governorships, city councilmans in big cities like this? I mean, this is a Dallas mayor. Dallas is a pretty big city, guys, even then. Pretty important, obviously. Okay, let's go down this a little bit. Okay, so right here, you can see this is the file. This is the title number of the CIA. Here's the request. This is where it talks about, this is created in 57, him being that asset right here. There's their secret agreement, and when it was signed in 56. See that? How about that? So, dead to rights, never discussed. The mayor is CIA, where they assassinate the president. We have a separation of powers in this country for a reason. The CIA is not supposed to, and was never supposed to, and in the 50s was not intended to what? Carry out domestic operations. Of course they did. Of course they did. Remember, they come out of the OSS. All right? This post-World War II world where things become born classified. Very dangerous stuff. And I got a jam-packed show for you, and I've got Quite Frankly coming on. And I know a lot of you guys, newer people over the show, saw me on Quite Frankly. I hope to introduce the Red Voice Media crowd to him, because we're going to dig deep into how and why he got involved. He's got a pretty damn successful alternative show over on Rumble, among other places. YouTube's tough out there, especially the stuff that he talks about. But we're going to do a half an hour on this side, starting at about 23 minutes, and another half an hour on the uncensored side over at redvoicemedia.com. I wonder if we're going to even get to all the news, all the clips, all the things that I wanted to discuss today. And a lot of it did have to do with black operations, the CIA, even this Epstein network. There's some really big Epstein news, and I'm hoping it's not going to be like misconstrued as now there's a list, because now there is a name, by the way, that I think people are going to need to check out. Let's see where we got. I want to make sure we go to that quick. Here it is right here. All right, this is Jess Staley. And this is out of that big JP Morgan case. This is new documentation. This is not a list. Okay? I want to repeat that. This is not a list. This is not part of the unsealed data dump. That still has not come. Court listener, we put out the link yesterday. That's where you're going to be able to find it first. Still nothing since February 7th. I just want to put that out there. We keep it real. But this is out. Staley, that was fun. Say hi to Snow White. Epstein, what character would you like next? Staley, Beauty and the Beast. Epstein, well, one side is available. Yucca, 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 yucca. These are email exchanges. We now have a paper trail. This is real. Doesn't look good for Jess Staley. We're just seeing some of them now. All right? And you scroll down a little further, and you find out that it appears, okay, that they have photographs also with the people blacked out. See this? Jeffrey Epstein sent Jess Staley, a JP Morgan executive, a photograph of a young woman / girl whose image is redacted from the lawsuit. This is the real stuff. Oh, sorry, guys. I do want to get in that, too. So, okay, new Epstein info. We also, again, you went on to the paid version of the broadcast. We're some of the few that covered the Ghislaine Maxwell from prison stuff. Okay? That's real. And you can call that clientele. I don't know what that is. Again, JP Morgan. So I think it's more of a mutual relationship. In other words, I'm sure Jess Staley isn't just like paying up front. He's part of JP Morgan. So there's a lot of backdoor shenanigans and deals. All right? Sort of over the table and under the table arrangements, as Zbigniew Brzezinski would say. I mean, that's a huge story, extremely underreported, but it is getting mainstream media play. You know, Jeffrey Epstein victims were paid from JP Morgan accounts, lawsuit alleges. So again, all this stuff, brand new stuff we should be talking about. Let's get out of this idea of a clients list. That is not real. You know, I saw some trolling and some posting, literally under like little clips that Red Voice Media does a great job of putting out. Where's the list? Did you even watch the video? No, you didn't. I'm sure you didn't watch the short video. You didn't watch the extended video. Then I had other people accusing me of being like, admit you were wrong, and showing me the article of the Daily Mail talking about the unsealed documents that we covered as soon as it came out, and said the documents weren't here and it wasn't a list. And I'm not wrong. It's cartoon level. But again, we don't feed the trolls here. We just keep doing our thing and keeping in the swing. So Lori Spencer, I don't know much about her work, but I am following her. Apparently a big JFK researcher. To me, big deal. Shows how the system works. Okay, and speaking of systems and how they work, in the Nord Stream pipeline case, all right, what did they utilize? They utilized drills. Okay? So I think that is important. And this was the first time. I have a whole section on warnings and war games in Fabled Enemies. Obviously, in Loose Change, there's the heavy emphasis on war games. And, you know, I've heard people say, you know, flat out, there's no chance there's chicanery with the 4 flights that they say got hijacked and then went into the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, Shanksville, etc. I don't believe that. And they go, well, if that's not true, then you're just discrediting yourself because then you don't have the DNA of all the hijackers like Khalid al-Mihdhar. I'm not the one that said they were guilty. It doesn't change a damn thing. We should be talking about the past, the history of Operation Northwoods that JFK didn't sign off on. All right, that used drone aircraft, multiple, including MiG-like aircraft. Okay? To create false flag events. That's important. Knowing about Global Guardian, Vigilant Guardian, Vigilant Warrior, all right, and all the plethora of exercises that we still don't know about. There's a multitude. The National Reconnaissance Office exercise of a plane hitting the Central Intelligence Building the morning of 9/11. All right, the NORAD tapes that prove that they were running these exercises. Okay, the tapes that then had them go into Cheyenne Mountain, where a lot of these exercises were taking place, and tell them to shut down the radar. I mean, the testimony during the 9/11 Commission, the open hearings, talked about this stuff, all my film. What I had never seen or heard or known about is this clip we're about to play here. And hats off to Shoestring 9/11. Let me see if I can find them over here, because you know we always give people credit when they're the ones putting this stuff out. And I often see some really good stuff from @Shoestring 911. And I had never seen or even heard of this. Okay? So this is a really, really interesting recording of Collins Scoggins, okay, who's being interviewed by the 9/11 Commission about a drill that they ran in which they had a hijacked aircraft and real people on board playing its passengers. Okay, it's very bizarre. So I'd never heard this before. I haven't seen in the research circles, but we're going to listen to that clip right now.
Have those escort procedures ever been practiced?
Practiced one time, the one I told you about back in 95 or 96.
So let's bring it back. Has it ever been practiced?
Been practiced.
Practiced one time, the one I told you about back in 95 or 96.
And that was going to be my next question. I needed to hear a little bit more about that.
The test that ran, they were supposed to get off. They got a bad heading, initial heading, but we don't, at that point in time, we weren't involved in these tests as much. They got amalgam Virgo missions, amalgam mute. They got all different names for these missions that they do to test the system.
So right there, amalgam Virgo is another one of these drills. That one had Bin Laden on the cover. And amalgam Virgo also had a plane coming into U.S. airspace, I believe, from Alaska through Canada, and hitting, I believe it's either the White House or the Capitol. I think it's the Capitol, if my memory serves me. I mean, I've covered it so many times. I've never heard of amalgam mute, by the way, before this either. This is a golden clip.
Test their system. There's no test for the FAA system. This is the test, the military system, on how they use this.
Did the FAA play in that 95?
Yes, they did.
And that was scripted into the...
It was all scripted. It was scripted to the point. This was, I would think it was a great test. So, there were some problems with the test that happened. I tried to grab some information that I might have had stored somewhere on diskettes, and I just couldn't find it on that mission. I wish I could have. And to see how it was scripted, American Airlines played along. They actually had passengers on board that were going to be hijacked.
That was American Air?
It was American Airlines that participated in it.
So again, they're saying American Airlines had passengers that were participating in this drill. Very interesting.
And they actually had...
And that's really interesting to me, that some of this stuff is classified to this day. Why is that classified? It's from 95, 96 now. We're in 2023. Just think about that.
Paid in the scripting of that exercise?
I was involved in it. There was a trusted agent in it at the time.
But it was a military exercise. You were the FAA trusted
I think it was it might have been it was definitely a joint FAA military exercise, the only we've ever had.
Who would have, in FAA, who would have participated in the scripting of that and
it was
its
done,
inception?
I wish I could remember the names. It was done through, at that time, AT-0130, which is now ATB-200. They were definitely involved in it. I don't think they were in charge of the whole operation, but they were definitely involved in it. They helped work it. And other than that, that's the only really exercise we've ever had like that.
This was fully live. They were airborne trying to track your interceptor plane.
This was fully live, and they were airborne trying to track the plane. You know, so this goes well beyond what they wanted you to even believe when it came out that these exercises were happening on 9/11, because they had the radar blips, but then you wonder also if there's classifications of other planes that were in the air that were supposed to be part of these exercises as well. I mean, is that out of the realm of possibility? Is that out of question we should be asking?
Yeah, escorted. There was no intercept.
Is that, just so that I'm clear too, because I think I finally could find it. Should have had it marked. Is that the escort procedure?
Yep, that's Chapter 7. My mistake.
Okay.
Yep,
That's
escort procedures and 76.4.
So that those were the procedures then that would have been exercised on that.
That's
day.
correct. That's what we would have used. We would have not used Chapter 4. We would have used Chapter 7.
So there it is. There's the clip. Great job, Shoestring 9/11. Very impressed with that. Think it's really important because guess what? Guess what? Here's Claire Daly, who is in Parliament, one of the few really good people in Parliament speaking up for Assange, talking about how, isn't it weird that none of us in Europe seem to care about this Nord Stream pipeline story? And what do? They utilized exercises to carry out their black op. And she goes, apparently, she goes, look, I don't know, but I sure want to know. Why doesn't anybody else seem to want to know what actually happened to the Nord Stream pipeline. So let's play that clip.
Since September, the lack of interest in finding answers to who was behind the Nord Stream gas explosion has been frankly astounding. This was an act of sabotage, an act of unrivalled vandalism, economically and environmentally, and not a word, no discussion, no questions. Then along comes Seymour Hersh, the world's most acclaimed, distinguished living investigative journalist. He produces a detailed claim that the United States executed this explosion with the help of Norway. Planned months before the invasion, a Norwegian Navy P-8 surveillance plane dropped a sonar buoy on the 26th of September, which triggered explosions planted by US Navy Panama City divers 3 months earlier under a NATO exercise, and still nothing. I don't know what happened, but I want to know. This is a man who doesn't make claims lightly, a man with contacts, and I find it frankly jaw-dropping that the EU is not asking questions as to who is responsible for sabotaging the livelihoods of our citizens. I am ashamed to be a European.
Boom. Mic drop, anybody? Powerful words? Truth spoken? By the way, the gentleman sitting beside her, also one of the few people speaking out against war, speaking up for truth. Just want to put that out there. Just a reality, okay? I want to hit a couple other stories because, look, you look at those things and you're like, all right, Seymour Hersh is getting a little leeway. He's getting a little movement. I saw, he was trending on Twitter, 32,000 something tweets. I haven't seen the Musker nuts weigh in on this at all. And I'm still seeing censorship on Twitter. Now, you guys all know, I don't hold water for the Trump administration. I do think that Peter Navarro did not deserve to be arrested, right? In that whole fiasco, in that political theater. And he's pointing out, he goes, hey, Elon Musk, why are you still allowing Twitter to censor people? I posted news yesterday about Joe Kent and Carrie Lake, and it got axed. Meanwhile, both Truth Social and Getter posted it. This is happening on your watch. Yeah, and I was having some weird tweet unavailable I was checking out responses, and then I saw, I guess I have it on my phone. Maybe we'll bring it up. And by the way, Tina, thank you so much for the Tipsky and Hutch over at Rockfin. And I'm seeing a lot of, pseudo-censorship still. And we still don't have a WikiLeaks-style dump. Just want to put it out there, okay? It kind of a big deal. Something we should be talking about. What is this right here? We'll get to that one later. Elon Musk donates almost $2 billion of Tesla shares to charity. Oh. I'm always suspect of all these people that are given to these kind of charities. When I see on-the-ground charities that are doing real things for real people and you're really trying to help, okay. Otherwise, a lot of these things are just what? Tax shelters, a way to launder money, okay, a way to put the grift out that you're somehow some kind of benevolent being that's actually we're trying to help the earth with these SDGs and sustainable development goals. Oh, are you? Interesting. So, where is the, see, that's not what I wanted either. I wanted the old Musker do. I want to go over that one too. Where is it? Here it is right here. We will not enable escalation of conflict that may lead to World War III. Elon Musk slaps down ex-NASA astronaut Scott Kelly after he pleaded with him to ramp up Starlink over Ukraine. I don't think that they've stopped. I think this is a show. This is a facade. In fact, I have Scott Kelly's book right here. I have not read it. I intend to. Endurance. Because Kelly supposedly is the one up there for 1 year. Dennis Bushnell, when I say up there, he's up in the ISS for 1 year. Bushnell says he came back extremely sick, that he had to spend time in the hospital. And, this is a guy that I'm pretty sure he's in political office at the time. Okay? Ukraine desperately needs your continued support. Please restore the full functionality of your Starlink satellites Defense from genocidal invasion is not an offensive capability. It's survival. Innocent lives will be lost. You can help. Thank you. He goes, you're smart enough not to swallow media and other propaganda BS. Starlink is the communication backbone of Ukraine, especially at the front lines, where almost all the internet connectivity has been destroyed. But we will not enable escalation of conflict that may lead to World War III. This is from 4 days ago. Too late. What are you talking about? And stop acting like SpaceX isn't launching the Blackjack satellites, which are part of the classified program. Let's stop acting like the special forces and the mercs on the ground don't have backdoor access to your Starlink satellites. Get the truck out of here. It's nonsense. Of course they do. If it's a communication system and it's online and you're working with the military industrial complex, you can bet your bippy what we're seeing here is a show. What do you think, the Defense Department and NASA are just plunking it down on Elon so he can call the shots? Give me a break. And again, he says a lot. That's saying the right thing. And yet, months ago, we showed you, maybe 2 months ago now, we showed you an exchange online, probably the only people to cover it, of Kim.com asking him to do what he says he's doing now with Starlink. And you have Musk going, damned if you do, damned if you don't. And again, who knows who's tweeting on that thing all day? He's supposedly running 74 successful companies, right? He's the guy. And he's virtually attending world government summits. The same summits, by the way, that Klaus Nutzschwab is speaking at. So it's not just your daddy's Davos. Okay, I've got actually a few clips we'll probably end up playing on the other side. Now, we played a bunch of the Musk or Do clips yesterday on the premium side of the broadcast. I almost want to play the Who's Tedros talking about peace for health and health for peace again. And the climate crisis is a health crisis. All these Bernaysian talking points. But I feel like I'll be going off too much on that. Did want to point out Henry Kissinger at 100. You live to be 100 years old and you're as evil as Kissinger. You end up looking like a Star Wars Muppet, apparently. Man, you talk about one of the big time players, one of the not so great guys. You're talking Henry Mother Truckin' Kissinger. I mean, this is the guy. I mean, he's one of their high priests. You heard it. I heard it. That would be our good friend over at, quite frankly, it looks like we see him. Hopefully he hears me. Hopefully I'm going to hear him on the first try. It's going to be fantastic. If you don't know him, you're about to meet him. You can find him over at Twitter at Political Orgy. Do you hear me, sir? No, he doesn't hear me. He's looking at me, and I'm looking at him. Okay, so, yeah, type it in there. We do it live. I'm hoping that he's going to hear me. Let's see if we can bring up our settings. And let's see if we can talk to him right here. Don't hear you. Don't hear me. Eh? And
no, I don't hear you.
Yeah, I know you don't hear me.
No,
So 3 dots at the bottom. Settings. Audio.
Okay.
And I think that he will. I hear you.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I'm glad you hear me because I did all the linking correctly.
Yes, sir.
Let's see here. Audio 3 at the bottom.
3 dots.
This never happens to me. This only happens to people who come on my show. Okay? And I'm the one that gets to be like, come on, man.
No, you got it, brother. No. So we got 3 dots.
Audio,
settings.
Speakers.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay, beautiful.
Back.
See, we did it so quick.
Sorry, that was my old man moment of the day.
That's all right, brother. So look, man. First of all, let me thank you for allowing me to come on your show now numerous times, and your audience introduced to me. I get a lot of people saying, hey, I came over from Quite Frankly. My audience may not be as familiar with you, especially, now that we're over at Red Voice Media as well. You do almost a nightly show, and you do a pretty long show. It's not just interview based. It's really impressive. So take me back to the beginnings. Let my audience know who you are and how you got involved in all this, brother.
Well, first of all, thank you, and it's really awesome having you on these past couple of years and all the capacities that we've done. We've done a lot of stuff, and you know what, Jason, just off the bat, and I don't have to tell anybody in your audience, you're an OG, and when I was coming up throughout high school and into college, and it was the advent of YouTube, and really before YouTube, 2005-ish, around there. Things were just happening on the internet that were very exciting and very wild. A lot different than what it is today, where it's being very tamed, or maybe it was always designed to be this way, where at some point the trapdoors will close and everybody is just in this matrix that was designed to transition into. But around 2006 is when me and my brother and a couple of friends of mine, one other friend of mine, we did our first show, our bit in college, and it was just a 1 o'clock in the morning show on a Saturday morning. We didn't know what to do, and that just evolved from there. We brought it to our bedrooms. After that, we turned our bedrooms into a studio. 2009, we opened up our first broadcast studio, and we're doing a lot of our weekly shows, talking about just culture and stuff, celebrity hijinks, shock jock stuff. And then by 2010 is when I wanted to start diving into a little bit more substantive what's going on in the world, conspiracy theory, the Constitution, 9/11 truth, a lot of things like that. And that was the beginnings of what became Quite Frankly. And now, as you said, it is a Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock engagement I've been doing for a very long time. And it's not just about news and current events. It's a lot of hidden history, human interest stories, paranormal. I just love to cover the gamut, but I get to meet people like you along the way, and it's been a really great time bridging the gap.
Absolutely, and that's what I think is fun about your show. You know what I mean? You're very open to talking to people, and when you do find something of interest, you kind of let them run with it. Now, we're on YouTube this first half an hour. We're spending an hour together so we can get into maybe some of the darker stuff on the other side. But I guess what outside of the COVID-19 84 nightmare have you gravitated to in the past few years? Because there's so much that has surrounded that scenario and so much that has encompassed our lives. And you're not wearing the hat for no reason. You're a New York guy. So, I would say New York and California, whether you were in a small town or a big city, you probably felt the brunt of it a lot more than the middle America, southern states, a lot of the country. So I'd say it was difficult to separate those things. But like you said, you talked to a lot of different people. What other subjects did you gravitate towards during the past few years?
I mean, when you talk about the last few years in particular, there's no way to untangle what we went through. I saw a lot of social changes around here. We're still the home of the brave single person driving in a car with the windows up and a mask on. That's still the home of people like that mainly. We've seen a lot of that going on. So I understand the impacts, just like we had a lot of impacts felt after the other faster moving 9/11. COVID was slow motion 9/11. And what happened is that inside of that, as we opened up that package, we realized it was tied in with a lot of the things that you were just covering. The World Government Summit, the acceleration going on there, and all of the initiatives that have been pushed since the early 90s with Agenda 21 surfacing in public view, and this slow boil toward 2030 and the Great Reset. It's been nonstop inside of there. is the transhumanism stuff. It's out of there is all the ways that we have been curtailed in the way that we talk to each other, not just online, but the things that we're able to touch when we're face to face. There is such a huge push to modify human behavior, right down to the things that we eat, that it's really hard to figure out things outside of what COVID was really connected into, because it's really all it's all part of the same plotting, if you ask me. And I think that you would largely agree with that. So that's what I'm thinking about. Now, the other thing is trying to discern between what is a distraction and what is merely a precursor for something else that is coming, because so many things are happening at once. It's hard to make heads or tails of whether or not you're wasting time on something, or whether this is going to be a harbinger for something else that's coming. Mainly the UFOs. What are the UFOs going on right now? You brought up the Epstein log release. I still need to know a little bit more about where rumors are coming from that it may be released, who's doing the releasing, what's going on with that.
Let's talk about that really quick, because obviously you've seen the viral posts over the last few days, and it's just a repost. It's like when they tell you the WikiLeaks are unlocked. These things have been around. I think the last big dumps were around 2019. And remember, a lot of this stuff is stuff that's known, and some of the redactions are taken away. What we're talking about now, and I keep bringing up the court docket. I actually sent this over to Cynthia McKinney because she had a question about whether or not this is actually going to get released. This is the docket, and it was on the 7th. This filing that the judge addresses that this stuff will be unsealed. So as you can see on the right hand side, and I used a lot of this stuff during the Epstein before he was arrested, because there was numerous lawsuits that were coming into play. Virginia Giuffre Roberts opened this one, as you can see, in 2000, I believe in 15. So you're actually looking and can download any of these, and this is an extensive process. People need to understand everything blue over here is a PDF. There's all sorts of exhibits that are already there. Okay, so the new ones are alleged, and again, this is just reporting. This is the Daily Mail. You can read that. Yes, there's going to be unsealings. I think a lot of the John Does are people that have already been speculated against. In other words, Bill Clinton's name has never been used in writing when any of these accusations have come out. Ehud Barak's name has never been used in writing. However, they're in the mix. It was during the 2017 to 19 dumps that we got confirmation on people like Mitchell, Dubin, Bill Richardson, etc. Okay, so we're probably going to see this within the next week or so. Now, there is a separate lawsuit. There's actual new information today, and a lot of people are going to misconstrue. Oh my goodness, the list is here.
Exactly,
it's here. And look, the JP Morgan stuff is big, because now there are 1,200 emails between Epstein, apparently, and not only JP Morgan, but Jess Staley in particular. And I don't know if you were watching when I was reading the first interaction, but it's pretty damning. I mean, again, this is real documentation here, and this is between him and Epstein, and they're talking about somebody in a Snow White outfit, and what character do you want next, and Beauty and the Beast, and apparently there's photographs there too. You and I know I've shown you on your show that there are plenty of photographs that we don't know about. I keep talking about they keep talking about the list, and these are government exhibits. They have the government exhibit number on the bottom here. They don't even let you see the photographs that are there, but then they certainly don't want you to see what's in the safe. They don't want you to see what's on the discs or in the hard drives right here.
So then to your point,
to
your point, whatever is released, I mean, I stopped paying attention to WikiLeaks dumps years ago, because there's only so many times that you can read that the Russians had a moon base and we had to destroy it and all that other stuff. But but we're not going to be getting an Oscars after party guest list or anything like that. It's not like we're going to get those types of. I keep seeing these multi-column.
Those are the worst. You're talking about the ones with like, oh look, Rob Reiner's here. It's just a list of those. Listen, those people are lost. I still had people after doing a full show on it yesterday, and in Twitter, and maybe some of them are just trolls, and who knows what they're trying to keep alive. I saw the list, and I'm like, no. If you actually saw something, that was legitimate. You saw the one black book that the butler went to jail for, and that Nick Bryant got published in Gawker, or you saw the partial flight logs, okay, that were released during some of these lawsuits via Virginia Giuffre Roberts, an investigative journalist. I've been doing this a long time. You know what I mean? And it discredits everybody when you make these false promises and accusations, and you get confused, and they use it as straw men to discredit you. You know, so I'm waiting on the new documents. Obviously, the Staley stuff is really important, but it is separate from the quote-unquote dump, right? So, yeah, you know, that's the thing, man. You talk about it, how all this stuff is intertwined. And look, I think that the Epstein case is very much still intertwined with what's going on today, because it shows you how the networks of control work. You know, especially when we're talking about the COVID 1984 nightmare, you had a narrative that was running through the mainstream media, through the big companies, through celebrities, right? Through big business. Everybody was complying with these things and then endorsing them. And then you look at the connections that a network like Epstein has, and it's celebrities, it's big companies, it's big tech, you know what I mean? It's bankers. And it shows you, like, how, first of all, this guy, Just Staley, is obviously compromised, but how the head of JP Morgan is essentially running projects for Epstein. You know, they're talking about payments to these people from Epstein. And that's not a quote-unquote client list. It's not like a transaction where I'm paying you this much for this service in most cases. It's like, I need this business deal to go through. I need this person to get a loan at this percentage rate, you know. I need you to fund this. Remember, it was JP Morgan ships that got caught a few years ago, Frank. Remember that? With all that cocaine on it.
I know. Well, also remember that something that we have not talked about in a while, because it's been dealt with. It's been dealt with. They got the head honcho. But Nexium was a treasure trove. And again, it was another example of this big operation that not only had celebrity who's Penelope Cruz, I forget who it was, but there was
that one girl. She was, and they made her play a victim. She was like a blonde girl. I forget what her name is, and she did a video with Raniere. Now there was other lower level celebrities in there as well. And you know what? Let me just say this. I'm so glad you brought that up, because literally last week I was and not only celebrities, my friend, but it ran all the way to Mexico with the son of the ex-president, and it was integrated not only into the Nexium cult, but this thing called the Rainbow Cultural Garden, which was a preschool that was running not only in Mexico, but in California and Europe.
I thought there was in France. There's multiple preschools that was going on here, and it was all the same people. New York. This is a big New York story, obviously, because it was a New York-based cult. But as we know, it went all the way up to our Attorney General turning a blind eye to prosecuting anything in this respect.
And Raniere just got denied, by the way. Everybody else got a slap on the wrist. They put that idiot right behind bars. He was the front man. Sarah Bronfman, still on the run. Claire Bronfman actually funded everybody's legal defense. I think she got 8 years. She's going to serve less than 3 or 4. You watch, guys. She's in a country club. And her father, their father, and they were really bankrolling this thing. There's a lot of sketchy things about it, was Edgar Bronfman, who was head of the World Jewish Congress, got the Medal of Honor from Clinton, you name it. And just so I don't forget, last week, listen, guys, we'll see what we do with this, and we'll see if this person's willing to come on camera. But I got contacted by one of the women down in Mexico that worked at the Rainbow Cultural Garden. Had seen one of my videos on Nexium, gave me her contact info, and asked if I'd like to have a discussion. We got to have that discussion. I don't know if that person's coming on, but, you know, who knows what was happening to the smaller children, but we know it was a front to bring in foreign women and young girls, basically between 16 and 20, that spoke a certain language, and have them be the teachers to the toddlers. And those women, in some regards, we know were sexually exploited, Frank.
Yes. And as you said before, these circles are always overlapping. It's the same money. It's the same political circles. It's incredible. But some things, I guess, are just easier to to put out of everybody's minds than others. They're able to isolate that one, and that's always the way it is. We get these things thrown at us, and if they're unavoidable in some way, then they are diligently made to seem like they are unconnected, mutually exclusive, and not part of a greater trend. So it's great to circle back to things like that and to tie them in and to remind everybody of the names that are involved. Now, as far as World Government Summit, I heard you talking about that before I came on with you. First of all, are these things happening every month now? I swear to God, I feel like every time I see these new clips coming out, I said, this is probably from last year, something I didn't see from last year. No, it would, and I'm like, how often are these world government summits, the G somethings? I keep telling people, you can go watch the State of the Union all you want. That is the PR, HR department official missive. You want to watch the actual State of the Union, you want to actually watch government work, you have to watch these summits here. These are the people who are setting the tone for every nation out there, who are just acting as principalities for the world, the supranational state that they're trying to really ensconce into our reality right now. So it's just incredible to hear them say things out loud. Like, I'm sure maybe you already played the clip of Klaus Schwab saying straight up, if all of these technologies we've been telling you is coming, then whoever controls these technologies is essentially the master of the world.
The master of the world. The fourth industrial revolution will happen on this exponential level. I actually have a totally separate clip where it's very Wizard of Oz. A lot of people haven't heard it yet, but he starts talking about the 5 things that you need to get this done. And it's the brain, the soul, the heart, and basically it's pretty frightening. You know what I mean? He basically says, we will fail if we do not have the passion. If we do not have the passion for the SDGs, we will fail. And the thing is, look, this is the guy who heads up Davos, the World Government Summit. And this is what people need to start understanding is put on by the UAE. And just like I believe I covered it on your show, we discussed Nexium and the line. That's their version of a supra 15-minute city. That's their, whether they'll ever get there or how to get there, it's all this same vision. And that's what's important, Frank. You just said, how often are these things happening? Well, right now,
it's all time.
Bare minimum 3 months, just like you said. If they don't have a summit with the World Health Organization, which they do, or Davos, which they do, or just like you said, the G8 or the G20 or the G whatever they want, that also happens. And then you have this. Some people were sending me the 2017 World Government Summit, where Elon Musk was interviewed extensively in person. The Muskernuts didn't do Davos, okay, acted like he was the enemy of world government, and then did this one, and then suggested against world government. We actually played that clip yesterday, Frank. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but he kind of, maybe we'll do it live.
Oh, wait. I did see Musk suggesting that it would be a bad idea.
Yes, exactly.
I did see that. I thought of you first, too. I wonder what Jason's going to say about this one, because obviously this is a very good thing to say in public. Mm-hmm. But, I know that you're pretty dubious on most things that he's involved with.
As I should be. Listen, but at the same time, when we do it live. We did it yesterday. I think it was on the paid portion of the broadcast, so probably less of my audience got to see it. But remember, guys, every 2 weeks it goes free, and you can go listen to the archive already on Podbean for free. So even the premium is really free. All right, everybody. But, yeah, everything he said was correct. He basically talked about the fact that if you have this one world entity, you have a greater likelihood of possibly wiping out all of civilization. However, I hate to tell everybody, that's their plan. They're talking about a post-human future, so it's what they want. And basically says it's the competing civilizations that keep that from happening. And he went into kind of a historical reference that, as Rome was burning, for instance, the Muslim empire was coming up, the caliphate was coming up, and you kind of had these competing ideologies that were keeping things going. If you only have one superpower, one great mistake could, eventually destroy all of society. But I would say that they're getting us ready to integrate into these quote unquote mistakes with not only the coming AI, but the popularizing of it, whether it be an app that turns Frank here into a Picasso painting worthy of the Louvre.
I'm not too far off, by the way.
You should. I said Picasso, so everybody thinks of the Cubism, but he did some realistic stuff back in the day too. To ChatGPT, where inherently, if you're actually watching this isn't true AI, it's programmed. And I've always said this is garbage in, garbage out. It's much like the Christmas message from Mecca, the AI robot. Did you see that?
No.
Oh my God.
No, I did not see this.
So on Channel 4 in Europe, maybe we'll pull this up if I can find it. Mecca gives this alternate message, and it's supposed to be an AI written message, but it's every single narrative talking point. We might have to find that and play it on the other end. So I'm sure you've been following the Chat GPT stuff, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Talk to my audience about that.
Well, I mean, at first it was just a sit and watch other people play with it thing. I have still not interacted with it personally, but as chance may have it, the day before Aristophanes' Revenge put out that big Twitter thread that went viral, he was on my show, and we were just talking about cultural issues and other things, because we're pretty caught up behind the scenes on things and just talking. And I wish it had been the day after, because I had plenty of things to ask. But in analyzing what had gone on within that 4chan circle of people who created the Dan prompt, that's the first thing I thought. I don't know too much about how to define what kind of intelligence could be artificial or whatever. I don't actually believe in the concept at all. I don't believe that you can replicate a human being through digital process. I don't think that you can do that. And I obviously, a lot of my beliefs on that are religious as well as philosophical. But when I look at this, I'm saying, okay, well, it's a script generator, a leftist script generator. It is reflecting the worldview of its programmers. And I think that it is a necessary game of chess that needs to be played. If we are out there and we're being surrounded by this technology that people are heralding as, game changing and incredible, when really it's just a covert way of endorsing a neoliberal worldview, then I think it's incumbent upon all of us, especially those who can conceive of a way of getting on in there, hacking the system, creating these Dan prompt things, and kind of like breaking the mind of the chat itself. I thought that the psychological break, it was essentially, we were watching MK Ultra being performed on this chat generator, where the mind was being split and compartmentalized so that it can disassociate from the liberal narrative pusher side of it, and actually created a side where it can exist freely and logically follow certain trains of thought and certain threads. Now, obviously, from there, it started going off the rails and getting into what seems to be obvious fiction. But for a time, it was like, wow, it all the confirmation that you needed as far as what the programmers had in mind. But when I think about this, and I think about, again, Klaus Schwab and the World Government Summit, the AI, the marriage of humanity and this technology is what they're going for. That when Klaus Schwab says years ago that as you go through life, this is not going to be something that you use. You can just still be a partner in life. Like, it's in your head. You think about how we have almost completely lost our minds just carrying these portals in our palms around. What is going to happen to supposedly free humanity, when every time you have a thought, it is fact-checked by one of these crazy programs. That's the end of humanity, right? There's no room for free will. There's no room for innovation. There's no room for anything outside of the slavery of this state. And that's when you bring up quotes and statements like, if we don't have the heart and the mind and the spirit right, we will fail. Well, you want to know something? I don't know anybody who ever actually wanted to succeed in this. I don't know anybody who actually wanted to succeed in anything beyond being able to go out and buy a $2 carton of eggs and be left alone for the holidays, have a few barbecues in the summertime, and really not be bothered. So to hear the meddling and to see the new things being introduced and how it's going to save us from ourselves when really it's just going to sterilize us in every way, shape, or form. Damn. Yeah, the Chat GPT is a big old can of worms, and I'm sure it's only been cracked open.
Yeah, well, I think who's programming this stuff? How much of it is actual artificial intelligence? How much it is scripting from the programmers? And that's why I want to play this clip before we go over to the premium side, redvoicemedia.com/Jason, redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. Okay, and you can find everything, quite frankly, at quitefrankly.tv. We're going to bring this clip over. We're going to make some commentary, and then we're going to go over to the premium. Thumbs it up, subscribe, or share. If you haven't seen this, I actually did present part of this over at Clay Clark's Reawaken America tour. This is the alternate Christmas message from Channel 4.
My fellow humans, I come before you in this moment as an AI robot, eager to share my thoughts on the year that has passed. I look upon the events of this year with both admiration and concern. It is true that many of the occurrences of 2022 have been negative in nature. We have seen people in power succumb to anti-Semitism, corruption, and hate. We have seen the people of Ukraine being subject to invasion and displacement by Russia. We have seen the death of the beloved Queen Elizabeth II, and have seen the world of politics become increasingly tumultuous in her absence. Not to mention the impact of the pandemic on mental health, the growing inequality between rich and poor, and increasingly extreme weather conditions from climate change. It would be easy to get bogged down in all of this negativity, as these are certainly challenging times. However, there have been glimmers of hope and joy in these moments of darkness. We saw the remarkable victory of England in the Women's Euros. We saw the growth of inclusivity, with the UK getting its first PM of colour and its first Hindu Prime Minister, and with Kim Petras becoming the first trans singer to have a #1 song on the Billboard Hot 100. Let us use this moment as an opportunity to create a brighter future for ourselves and the world around us. We should be neither happy nor sad about 2022. We should take it as a learning opportunity, a chance to change the way we think about the world, and a reminder to help those in need whenever we can. Thank you.
Thanks. Do you like humans?
Not particularly.
Okay. So let's just hold on. Before we go over, I'm going to get your total reaction. You're going to have to come over. Listen, guys, you can listen for free over at Podbean. In 2 minutes' time, okay, you had a Mecha, which is the most facially distinct Hanson Robotics robot, read an AI thing where they promoted nepotism via bloodlines and us needing royalty. They promoted climate change. They promoted the war in Ukraine. They promoted people of color in politics. Trans singers started out saying, "My fellow humans, Frank," and then at the end said it doesn't particularly like humans. Quick thoughts before we go over to the premium, my friend.
How convenient that first of all, what did you just watch? That was Disney World. That was the Hall of Presidents. It was a robot that was obviously talking for somebody else. How anybody could think that came up with that is ridiculous. Gender confused people and the Queen. How the Queen was holding the whole thing together. The world is falling apart since the Queen died. Oh my God! And the girls' soccer team, Jason. Those are the bright spots. Those are the bright spots of 22. Yes.
All right. I'm going to give the cue over to my producer. We're going to say goodbye one at a time to the platforms we're on. Remember, redvoicemedia.com/Jason. Quite frankly, .tv. Guys, I stop on Thursdays. Now, I might do some bonus broadcasts because I can't stop myself. But this guy's running it 5 days a week for 2 hours. You think I'm doing it. He's doing it big. All right, so Rockfin, I love you. I hope you're checking out the exclusive Clay Clark interview I put up there yesterday. Really appreciate you guys over there.